Good morning, girls. Today I'm going to teach you yesterday's class because yesterday full day we were in the college up to 5. We have some training program, so we got permission yesterday. So because of that only, I'm just posting my yesterday class today. So as usual, I will be posting my class for today's session will be on the same day. So, girls, finally we have come to the end of the semester, and this is the last unit we are supposed to see. We are in the fifth chapter. In the fifth chapter, we have two fictions to complete. So, this is the first fiction from unit number 1. Unit number 5. Charles Dickens, David Copperfield is the next fiction we have to see. So, girls, from 12th October, that is right from Monday, you people are going to write model examination. And after writing the model examination, it is your duty to submit the papers in the college that you will be informed later on by your class teacher. So 75 marks will be given as per the university's timetable. So shall we start? Okay. This is the last unit. First topic, Charles Dickens, David Copperfield. Today we are going to see the introduction part about Charles Dickens. So, girls, Charles John Huffam Dickens is the full name of Charles Dickens. He was born in the year 1812. Okay, he was born in the year 1812, February 1812. And he lived up to 1870. He was a very famous English writer, He was a very famous English writer as well as a social critic. You know what is critic? Who is critic? One who criticizes the society is called a social critic. And he created some of the world's best known fictional characters, Fiction. I hope I have explained you in the previous class about the fiction. Fiction is nothing but untrue, imaginative. It may not come true. So fiction comes in the chapter wise. The very best example for the fiction work is the animal in the forms. The animal forms. The very famous work, fiction work. And that famous work was written by Charles Dickens. So he was considered as one of the most as well as the greatest novelist of the Victorian era. We are belongs to Victorian era now. So all the authors are under Victorian era and he is considered as the greatest novelist of the Victorian era. He works enjoy unprecedented popularity during his lifetime. He enjoy unpretended. No one can share or no one can compensate his popularity during his lifetime. So he was that much popular He was a scholar, critic, and he was mentioned as well as he was recognized. He was recognized as a literary genius. Literary genius. He is a literary genius. His novels and short stories are still widely read today. Even today, his most of the fiction works are still widely read by, it was already read, and even for the future insist also, the, the readers will read the works of Charles Dickens. That much he is very famous. Ma. Here you can see the image of Charles Dickens. This pic shows you the image of Charles Dickens. Exactly, this pic was took maybe in the year 1867 or in the year 1868. He was born on 7th February 1812 and he died 9th June 1870 at the age of 58. He was born and died in the same place, England, in the country of England. And his resting place, Poets Corner, Westminster Abbey, a very famous literary place, England. And his occupation, is a writer. His nationality, British, because he was born and brought up in England. See here, girls, the notable works of Charles Dickens. The Pickwick Papers, Oliver Twist, Nicholas Nickleby, A Christmas Carol, David Copperfield, that is the syllabus for our subject, David Copperfield, Bleak House, Little Dorrit, A Tale of Two Cities, Great Expectations. These are the very famous works of Charles Dickens. So, girls, at least from this countable works, you will come across in your UG or PG at least five. At least five. Oliver Twist, very famous one. His spouse, I told you, no, Animal Farm. Animal Farm was written by George Orwell, but Animal Farm is considered as the best masterpiece of a fictional work. Spouse, Catherine Thomas Hoggett. Partner, Ellen Ternan. See how many children he got, like his notable works. He got many children to be noted. Charles Dickens Jr., Mary Dickens, Kate Peregrine, Walter Lander Dickens, Francis Dickens, Alfred Orsay Tennyson Dickens, Sidney Smith, Haldy Mate Dickens, Henry Fielding Dickens, Dora Annie Dickens, Edward Dickens. So he got number of children. So this biodata of Charles Dickens enough. Let us see in detail. He was born in Portsmouth. Dickens left school to work in a factory. He left school because his father was incarcerated in a debater's prison. So, when his father was not there to see his work factory, Charles Dickens he dropped his school and he went to the factory of his father to look after him. Despite his lack of formal education, though he got a lack of education, he was not supposed to continue his education because of his family situation. He edited a weekly journal for 20 years. So he was a journalist. He was in the part of the journalism. He edited a weekly journal for 20 years. For 20 years, he survived in the same job. He wrote 50 novels and 5 novellas, hundreds of short stories, hundreds of short stories and non-fiction articles. Not only everything in the written format, even though he have given lectures and performed readings extensively, was an indefatigable letter writing and championed vigorously for children's rights, education and other reforms. He was not only a writer of fiction works, girls. See, that's what I told you. He was a social critic. Mainly, he fought for the children's education. Do you remember, girls? In the beginning of the biodata, in the beginning of this introduction, I told you he was dropped from his formal education and he was supposed to take care of his father factory. So, when he was unable to continue his school education, this comes this might be a drawback for him, he thinks. So he fought for the children's education. And not only for the children's education, even he fought for the some social reforms. What is reforms? Some changes in the society. So Charles Dickens successfully started his career in the literature the year 1836 with the first serial publication of the Pickwick Papers. So he became international. His identification had become an international. Everyone started to notice, as well as everyone started to look after Charles Dickens. I mean, the literary figures. The first serial based publication, the Pickwick Papers, became very famous and he had become an international literary celebrity. So far, I told you about only the famous literary figure. He was noticed by the other literary figures, but this is the first time it is very clearly mentioned that he is noted, he had become an international literary celebrity, and was very famous for his humor, satire, and a keen observation of character and society. See, the character role, the character what he present, it will be a real character. It looks like a real character. His novels mostly published in the weekly or in the monthly installments or in the serial publication of narrative fiction. And Victorian era stands for the dominant novel publication. This is because of Charles Dickens. Okay, next. Mm, See here, David Copperfield seems to reflect her disabilities. Dickens improved the character with positive futures. So, Charles, the next famous work, David Copperfield. In this work, he just reflects his wife disabilities. So we'll see in a detail. And in the year 1843, his novella A Christmas Carol remains especially popular, and it started to inspire in every artist's genre. Oliver Twist and Great Expectations are the frequently adapted, and like many of his novels evoke images of early Victorian London. See, in most of the works of Charles Dickens, we can see the early London images. And in the year 1859, and another novel, A Tale of Two Cities. What are the two cities? One is London and another one is Paris. And this novel is considered as best historical work. And he was celebrated as a famous celebrity. As I already told you, he was identified as the international celebrity. Even some of the writers started to started to uh, note about author Charles Dickens. So, few fellow writers means co-writers, they started to praise him. Who are they? Leo Tolstoy to George Orwell, Chesterton, Tom Wolfe, and everyone they have started to, though the fellow writers, they started to praise him. Virginia Woolf, Oscar Wilde, Henry James, they have complained that he lacks in the psychological depth. When everyone is praising these four people, these three people, they started to complain about his lack of psychological depth. Loose writing. What is loose writing? It's not a mental writing. Loose writing means there is no stiffness in the content. That is called as a loose writing, and a vein of sentimentalism. There is no sentiments. No sentiments. It has a vein of sentimentalism. Vein means we have a vein in our body, no? So, in all the fiction of Charles Dickens, we have a sentimental oriented, not sentimental, special sentiments. That is, sentiment is the main vein. Sentiment is the main concept of Charles Dickens. And so, girls, these are the important points I like to share with you. Let us see about David Copperfield. Here you can see David Copperfield is the eighth novel by Charles Dickens. What is David Copperfield means? It donates it donates the name, but the full title, the personal history, the personal history, adventures, experience, and observation of David Copperfield, the younger of Blunderstone, Rockery, which he never meant to publish of any account. So, this is the full title, ma. The personal history, adventures, experience, and observation of David Copperfield, the younger of the Blunderstone Rockery. So, out of all this, he shortened the topic as novel title as David Copperfield. And it was first published as a serial. Serial means part wise in the year 1849 to 1850. Part wise, serial wise. In the magazine, as I told you, he worked as editor in the monthly as well as in the weekly magazines. He published this work in the serial part wise in the year 1846 to 1850, 49 to 1850, sorry. And completely, this work was completed in the year 1850, ma. Here you can see the cover page. David Copperfield. This is the original text image of the cover page. Author Charles Dickens. This is the original title. Country, United Kingdom. Language, he wrote in English. What is the genre? Novel. It was serialized the year 1849 to 1850, and the complete book was published in the year 1850, ma. It was published by Bradbury and Evans. It was media type printed. Originally we have in the first edition we have 624 pages. So ex- the novel features the important character David Copperfield, and it's written in the first person. He's the first person in this novel. We are going to um, get to know about his journey of change and growth from infancy to maturity, and this is considered as his masterpiece. This work is considered as a masterpiece of Charles Dickens, and this is called as true autobiographical novel. I believe he brings out his own experience, and this is the autobiographical work of his own life, Dickens' own life. So, girls, here I will stop. Let us see some of the characters here. See, David Copperfield, the protagonist, the narrator of the novel, David's father. He died when David born 6 months. When David was 6 months old, he died, and he was raised by his mother and nursemaid Pegoti until his mother remarries. David's stepfather, Mr. Mudstone. David was sent to dumpy boarding school because of his stepfather. And it is very sad to say that his mother was died on his ninth birthday. He is sent to work at a factory until he runs away to find his aunt. David Copperfield is characterized in the book as trusting, goal oriented, but as yet immature. David Copperfield's character as a trusted person and a very goal oriented man to achieve life, but yet immature. He is not mature, he is immature. He marries Dora Spenlow and later Agnes Wickfield. Let us see. Clara Copperfield, beautiful mother. Whose mother? David's mother, beautiful mother. David's affectionate. She is married to David Copperfield Sr. David Copperfield Sr. SR means not senior. I'm just referring you. We have two David Copperfield. One is father. When she got 6 months old baby, she lost her husband, but she married for the second time. She loves and cuddles young David. She loves young David. She started to take care of him with the help of Pegoti. Years later, after her husband's death, she remarries Mr. Mudstone, but she died in a couple of months after the birth of her second son to the second husband. She died when she delivered within a few months she died. Who dies a day or so later, maybe due to her delivery or some few days back she died, while David is at Salem School boarding house. Okay, girls. So I'll stop here. I'll continue in the next video.